Welcome to QuickTechie.com, Palo Alto Networks, Network Security Generalist Certification Training. Let's dive into next module.
Prisma Access Security Policy Structure. Okay, let's explain. Prisma Access Security Policy Structure. Think of a security policy as the set of rules that Prisma Access uses to control exactly what kind of network traffic is allowed or not allowed to pass through. It's like the rules a security guard follows at the entrance of a building. The Prisma Access Security Policy Structure is how these rules are organized and processed. 1. Policy rules. These are the individual instructions in your policy. Each rule looks at different parts of the network traffic to decide if it matches. A rule is defined by several things: source, destination zone, where the traffic is coming from and where it is trying to go. E.g., traffic coming from the mobile user zone, trying to go to the data center zone. User, group, which specific user or group of users the traffic belongs to. E.g., only allow users in the finance group to access something. Application, what specific application the traffic is for. Prisma Access can identify thousands of applications like Microsoft Teams, Salesforce, Facebook, or web browsing. E.g., allow traffic for the Salesforce application. Service. This is usually the port number and protocol, like TCP/80 for HTTP or TCP/443 for HTTPS. E.g., allow traffic using the HTTPS service. A single rule combines these elements to say, traffic coming from source zone by user group for application using service 2. Rule evaluation. When network traffic arrives at Prisma Access, the system checks it against the list of policy rules. This checking process is called rule evaluation. It's done based on ordered rules, top-down. This means the system starts checking the traffic against the first rule at the top of your list. If the traffic matches that rule, the system stops and takes the action specified in that rule. If it doesn't match, it moves down to the second rule, then the third, and so on, until it finds a rule that does match the traffic. This order is very important because the first matching rule is the one that gets applied. 3. Policy actions. Once the system finds a rule that matches the traffic, it performs the policy action defined in that rule. This action determines the fate of the traffic. Common actions include: allow, the traffic is permitted to pass through. Deny, the traffic is stopped, and a message is sent back to the sender saying the connection was refused. Drop, the traffic is stopped and silently discarded. No message is sent back, so the sender doesn't know why it failed. Reset, the connection is forcefully closed, sending reset messages to both sides. So, the structure is about defining specific rules based on who, where, and what the traffic is, how the system checks these rules in a specific order, and what happens to the traffic once a rule matches. Policy rules. Okay, let's explain policy rules. Imagine you are the security guard at the entrance of a building, and you have a list of instructions telling you who is allowed in, where they can go, and what they can bring inside. Each line on that list is like a policy rule in Prisma Access. A policy rule is a single instruction that tells Prisma Access what traffic to look for and what to do with it. You create a list of these rules, and the system checks incoming network traffic against this list. Each rule is defined by looking at specific details about the network traffic. Think of these as the criteria the security guard checks. 1. Source, destination zone. This tells you where the traffic is coming from and where it is trying to go. In Prisma Access, you group parts of your network or users into zones. For example, you might have a mobile user zone, a branch office zone, or a data center zone. A rule might say, traffic coming from the mobile user zone to the internet zone, or traffic from branch office A to data center. 2. User, group. This tells you who the traffic belongs to. Prisma Access can identify specific users or groups of users, like sales team, all employees, or a specific username. A rule might say, if the user is in the IT department group. This makes policies very specific to people, not just locations. 3. Application. This is a very important part. Prisma Access can identify what the traffic is for, even if it uses common ports. It knows if the traffic is for Microsoft Teams, Salesforce, Google Drive, Facebook, or just general web browsing. A rule might say, if the application is Salesforce for service. This refers to the technical details like the port number and protocol, like TCP 443 for secure web traffic or UDP 5060 for voice calls. You often use predefined services or specify custom ones. A rule might say, using the HTTPS service, TCP 443. So, a complete policy rule combines these parts into one instruction, like, allow traffic coming from the mobile user zone to the data center zone, if the user is in the developers group, for the SSH application, using the TCP 22 feet service. You build your security policy by creating a list of these specific, detailed rules. Rule evaluation. Okay, let's explain rule evaluation. Imagine you have a list of instructions that need to be followed very carefully, one after the other. When network traffic arrives at Prisma Access, the system uses the security policy, which is a list of policy rules, and performs something called rule evaluation. Rule evaluation is the process where Prisma Access examines the details of an incoming piece of network traffic, like a data packet trying to go somewhere, and compares it to each rule in your security policy list. The key thing about this process is that it is based on ordered rules, top-down. This means the system starts checking the traffic against the first rule in the list, which is at the very top. If the traffic matches all the conditions defined in that first rule, like the correct source, destination, user, and application, the system stops checking the rest of the list. It has found its match. If the traffic does not match the first rule, the system moves down to the second rule in the list. It checks the traffic against the conditions of the second rule. If it matches the second rule, it stops. If not, it moves to the third rule, and so on, checking each rule in order from top to bottom. This continues until the system finds the first rule in the list that completely matches the traffic. Once it finds that match, it stops the evaluation process and performs the policy action defined in that specific matching rule, like allow or deny. The order is very important. If you have a rule lower down in the list that also matches the traffic, but an earlier rule matched first, the earlier rule's action is the one that will be applied. If the traffic goes through the entire list of rules from top to bottom and does not match any rule, then a default action is taken, which is usually to block or deny the traffic. So, rule evaluation is the step-by-step, top-to-bottom checking of traffic against your ordered list of policy rules to find the first match. Policy actions. Okay, let's explain policy actions. We've talked about how network traffic is checked against your list of policy rules from top to bottom. Once Prisma Access finds the first rule that matches the traffic, it then looks at what that rule says to do with the traffic. This do part is called the policy action. The policy action is the final instruction in a matching rule that determines the fate of traffic. It tells Prisma Access what the outcome should be for that specific piece of data trying to pass through. There are several common policy actions you can define. 1. Allow. This is the action you use for traffic that you want to permit or let through your network. If a rule matches traffic and its action is allow, the traffic is given permission to continue on its way to its destination. For example, your policy for Salesforce application traffic would likely have an allow action. 2. Deny. This action means you want to stop the traffic from going through, and you want to send a message back to the sender telling them the connection was refused. This is like a security guard saying, "You are not allowed in," and explaining why, by sending a refusal message. You might use deny for traffic you explicitly want to block and where you want the source device or user to know it was blocked by the firewall. 3. Drop. Like deny, this action stops the traffic. However, with drop, Prisma Access simply discards the traffic silently. It does not send any message back to the sender. This is like the security guard simply ignoring the person trying to enter. The person doesn't get a refusal message. It just seems like the connection timed out. Drop is often used to stop malicious or unwanted traffic silently, so the sender doesn't get feedback that their attempt failed. 4. Reset. This action stops the traffic and forcefully closes the connection from both sides, the sender and the receiver, by sending special reset messages. This is like the security guard not only stopping the person but also immediately ending their communication channel. This can be used to quickly tear down connections that are not wanted or are causing problems. So, the policy action is the critical final decision in each rule, determining if the traffic is welcomed, politely refused, silently ignored, or forcefully disconnected. Applying security profiles. Okay, let's explain applying security profiles. When you create a security policy rule in Prisma Access, the main action is usually allow, meaning you let certain traffic pass. But just allowing traffic isn't enough for security. You also need to check that allowed traffic for threats and unwanted content. Security profiles are like extra security checks or scanners that you add to your allow rules. They perform deeper inspections on the traffic that is permitted by your basic policy rules. Applying these profiles means linking these scanners to specific rules. Here's how you apply them. 1. Attach threat inspection profiles. For traffic that you allow, like access to a company's server, you should link or attach profiles that look for malicious content. These are called threat inspection profiles. Examples include Antivirus, scans traffic for known viruses. Anti-Spyware, looks for connections to known malicious websites or command and control servers used by spyware. Vulnerability protection, protects against attacks trying to exploit weaknesses in software. You attach these profiles to your allow rules so that as the allowed traffic passes, it is automatically scanned for these types of threats. 2. URL filtering, file blocking. You can add profiles to control web access and file transfers. URL filtering. This profile is used on web browsing traffic. You can block users from accessing specific categories of websites, like gambling or social media, or known malicious websites. File blocking. This profile lets you prevent users from downloading or uploading certain types of files over the network, like executable programs or specific compressed file types, that could potentially carry threats. You add these profiles to rules that allow web traffic or file transfers. 3. WildFire Analysis. For traffic that involves transferring files, you can apply profiles that send unknown files to WildFire. WildFire is a cloud service that analyzes suspicious or unknown files using advanced techniques, like running them in a safe environment, to see if they are malicious. If a file is found to be a threat, WildFire quickly creates a new signature to block it for all Palo Alto Networks customers worldwide. Applying the WildFire profile means any files matching the criteria in the profile are sent for this deeper analysis for threats. So, applying security profiles is the crucial step of adding layers of threat prevention and content control, like blocking bad websites or files, to the network traffic that your basic policy rules have decided to allow. It's how Prisma Access provides advanced security, not just basic access control. Attach profiles. Okay, let's explain. Attach profiles. Imagine you have decided, using your policy rules, that certain people or certain types of deliveries, network traffic, are allowed into a specific area. But you don't just let them walk in without checking them first. You need to add extra security checks at that entrance. In Prisma Access, security profiles are like these extra security checks or scanners. They are specialized tools that look for specific kinds of bad things in the network traffic. To attach profiles means to link or connect these security scanners to your security policy rules. You connect them specifically to the rules where the action is set to allow. You wouldn't attach a scanner to a deny rule, because that traffic is already being stopped. The text mentions specific types of threat inspection profiles that you can attach. Antivirus. This profile contains a list of known virus patterns. When you attach the antivirus profile to an allow rule, Prisma Access scans the allowed traffic, especially files being downloaded, to see if it contains any known viruses. If it finds one, it can block the file. Anti-Spyware. This profile helps prevent communication with websites or servers known to be used by spyware, software that steals your information. When attached, it checks the allowed traffic to see if it's trying to connect to these bad places. If it is, it can block the connection. Vulnerability protection. Software programs often have weaknesses that attackers try to exploit. This profile contains information about these known weaknesses and common attack methods. When attached, it inspects the allowed traffic to see if it looks like someone is trying to perform one of these attacks against your systems. If it detects such an attempt, it can block it. So, attaching profiles means adding these specific scanning tools, antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, and others, to the security policy rules that allow traffic. This ensures that even the traffic you permit to enter or exit your network is automatically inspected for known threats as it passes through. It's adding the crucial layer of security scanning on top of your basic access control decisions. URL filtering, file blocking. Okay, let's explain URL filtering, file blocking. These are two specific types of security checks, or profiles, that you can add to your security policy rules, especially the ones that allow traffic. They help you control what users can do when they access the internet or transfer files. 1. URL filtering. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, which is basically a website address, like www.google.com. Filtering means controlling or blocking certain things. URL filtering is a profile that is used to control web access. It works by categorizing websites, like news, social media, gambling, malicious sites, etc. When you add a URL filtering profile to an allow rule for web browsing traffic, you can configure it to block or allow access to different website categories. For example, you might block access to the gambling category for all users, or block the social media category for specific user groups during work hours. You can also use it to always block access to websites known to host malware. It's like having a bouncer at the web door checking which type of website someone is trying to visit and stopping them if it's on the blocked list. 2. File blocking. This is a profile used to add restrictions to file transfers over the network, like downloading or uploading files. It lets you prevent certain types of files from being transferred, usually based on the file's actual type, not just its name, like an executable file, a compressed file, or a specific document type. For example, you might use a file blocking profile on your Internet Access Rule to prevent users from downloading executable .x files directly from the Internet, because these are often used to spread malware. It's like having a scanner that checks the package type being sent or received and stops any package types that are on a restricted list. So, URL filtering controls which websites users can visit, and file blocking controls which types of files users can transfer. You add these profiles to your allow security rules to enforce these controls on the allowed network traffic, adding more layers of security. WildFire Analysis. Okay, let's talk about WildFire Analysis. Imagine your standard security scans, like antivirus, are good at finding known bad things, like checking for packages with a specific poison listed on a known list. But what about a brand new type of poison that nobody has seen before? WildFire is a cloud-based service from Palo Alto Networks that acts like a high-tech laboratory specifically designed to find these brand new, unknown threats. WildFire Analysis means sending suspicious files or content to this lab for a deep check to analyze unknown files for threats. Here's how it works and why you apply profiles to analyze unknown files for threats. 1. When network traffic passes through Prisma Access and hits a security policy rule that allows it, like downloading a document from a website, you can have a WildFire profile attached to that rule. 2. This profile is set up to look for files within that allowed traffic, particularly files that Prisma Access doesn't already know are clearly good or clearly bad. These are the unknown files. 3. When an unknown file is detected based on the profile settings, Prisma Access automatically sends a copy of that file to the WildFire Cloud service, the lab. 4. In the WildFire Cloud, the file is put into a safe, virtual computer environment, like a sealed room, and is analyzed. WildFire watches what the file does. Does it try to harm the virtual computer? Does it try to connect to strange places on the internet? This is much deeper than a simple signature scan. 5. If WildFire determines that the unknown file is malicious, it's a threat, it quickly creates a brand new signature to identify that specific threat. 6. This new threat signature is then very rapidly sent back down to your Prisma Access and to other Palo Alto Networks security devices globally. 7. From that moment on, if that same malicious file tries to enter any network protected by an updated Palo Alto Networks device, including your Prisma Access, it will be instantly recognized as a known threat and blocked. So, applying WildFire Analysis profiles to your rules adds a critical layer of protection against brand new, previously unseen malware by sending suspicious files to a powerful cloud lab for deep inspection and quickly sharing new threat information globally. Maintaining policies and profiles. Okay, let's explain. Maintaining policies and profiles. Once you have created and applied your security policies and profiles in Prisma Access, your work isn't finished. The network changes, users' needs change, and new security threats appear all the time. So, you need to keep your policies and profiles working correctly and updated. This is called maintaining policies and profiles. This involves several tasks. 1. Centralized configuration. Prisma Access is a cloud service, but you manage it from a central place. This is either using a management tool called Panorama, if you have other Palo Alto Networks firewalls, or the cloud management portal specifically for Prisma Access. This means you don't have to log into many different devices to make changes. You manage rules and profiles for all your users and locations from one central location. This makes maintenance much easier, like having one master control panel for your entire security system. 2. Monitor policy usage. You need to check if your rules are actually being used and how they are affecting traffic. You can check hit count, which tells you how many times a specific policy rule has matched network traffic. If a rule has a 0 hit count, maybe it's not needed and can be removed to keep the policy clean. You also use logs, as we discussed before, to optimize, verify rules. By looking at the logs, you can see exactly what traffic is matching which rule and if the correct actions, allow, deny, are being taken and if the profiles are being applied. This helps you find rules that aren't working as expected or areas where you might need new rules. 3. Content and software updates. Security threats are constantly evolving. New viruses, spyware, and vulnerabilities appear every day. To stay protected, Prisma Access needs the latest information about these threats. Content updates. Palo Alto Networks constantly creates new threat signatures, patterns that identify specific malware or attacks. You need to ensure Prisma Access gets these latest updates regularly. This is like getting the newest list of viruses for your home computer's antivirus software. Software updates. The Prisma Access platform itself also gets software updates for new features or improvements. Ensuring you have the latest software ensures platform stability and access to the newest security capabilities. So, maintaining policies and profiles means managing them efficiently from a central place, checking regularly how they are being used to keep them effective and tidy, and making sure they always have the latest threat information and system improvements to provide the best protection. Centralized configuration. Okay, let's explain centralized configuration. Imagine your company has many employees who are working from different places, some in the office, some at home, some traveling. They all connect to the internet and your company's resources through Prisma Access, which is in the cloud. You have set up security policies, the rules about what traffic is allowed, and profiles, the extra security checks like antivirus and URL filtering. These policies and profiles need to apply to all these employees, no matter where they are connecting from. Centralized configuration. means that you manage these security policies and profiles for all your users and connections from one single place, instead of having to configure them separately on many different devices. Prisma Access is a cloud service, and it is designed to be managed centrally. You manage rules and profiles using either 1. Panorama. This is a central management platform from Palo Alto Networks. If your company already uses Panorama to manage physical Palo Alto Networks firewalls in your data centers or offices, you can often use the same Panorama to manage your Prisma Access security policies as well. 2. Cloud Management. This is a management portal specifically built in the cloud for Prisma Access. You access it through a web browser to configure all your Prisma Access settings, including security policies and profiles. The benefit of centralized configuration is that it makes managing security much simpler and more consistent. You create or update a security policy rule or a security profile just once in the central manager, Panorama or Cloud Management. Then, that change is automatically sent out and applied to all the necessary parts of the Prisma Access cloud service that your users are connecting to. This ensures that everyone gets the same security protection and that you don't miss applying a rule somewhere. It's like having one master control panel for your entire global security system. Monitor policy usage. Okay, let's explain. Monitor policy usage. You have created your security policies, which are lists of rules that tell Prisma Access how to handle network traffic. Now, you need to make sure these rules are actually doing what you expect and that they are effective. Monitor policy usage means regularly checking and observing how your security policy rules are being used by the network traffic flowing through Prisma Access. It's like checking if the instructions you gave to the security guard are actually being applied to people entering the building, and if the right people are matching the right instructions. This involves two main things. 1. Check hit count. Every time a piece of network traffic matches a specific security policy rule, because it's the first rule that fits the traffic, based on the evaluation process, that rule's hit count increases by 1. The hit count is just a simple number showing how many times a rule has been matched. You can check this number for each rule in your policy. Example: if your rule for allow Salesforce traffic has a hit count of 10,000, you know that rule has been applied 10,000 times. If another rule for allow an old, unused application has a hit count of 0 after a long time, you know that rule is probably not needed anymore and you can consider removing it. Checking hit counts helps you see which rules are active and identify rules that might be unnecessary. 2. Check logs to optimize, verify rules. We talked about logs earlier. These are detailed records of what traffic passed through and which policies were applied. By looking at the logs, you can verify rules. This means confirming that specific types of traffic are matching the correct rule you intended. Example: a user reports they cannot access a specific website. You check the logs for their traffic to that website. The log shows their traffic hit a deny rule. You then look at the details of that deny rule. Was it supposed to match this user or this website? Maybe you made a mistake in the rule definition, or maybe the traffic was identified as an unexpected application. By checking the logs, you can optimize your rules, make them better or more accurate, and verify that they are working as planned. Monitoring policy usage, by checking hit counts and reviewing logs, helps you keep your security policies clean, efficient, and correctly applied, making sure the right traffic is allowed or blocked as intended. Content and software updates. Okay, let's explain content and software updates. Imagine you have a security system with locks and alarms, but new tools for breaking in are invented every day. To keep your system effective, you need to constantly update your locks and make sure your alarms recognize the newest break-in methods. In network security, new threats, like viruses, malware, and attack methods, appear all the time. Prisma Access needs to know about these new threats to block them. This is where content and software updates come in. They are essential for ensuring the latest threat signatures and platform stability. 1. Content updates. These updates are like getting the newest list of all the known threats and how to identify them. Palo Alto Networks constantly researches new malware and attacks. When they find a new one, they create a specific pattern or signature for it. Content updates deliver these latest threat signatures to Prisma Access. This includes updates for antivirus, new virus patterns, anti-spyware, new bad websites or command servers, vulnerability protection, new ways attackers try to break into software weaknesses, URL filtering, new malicious websites or website categories. Getting these updates regularly ensures that the security profiles you applied to your policies, like antivirus and URL filtering, can recognize and block the very newest threats that appear on the internet. 2. Software updates. These updates are for the Prisma Access system itself, the software that makes the cloud service run. Software updates provide new features, fix bugs, improve performance, and ensure the overall platform stability. Sometimes, a new software version is needed to support the latest content updates or new security features you want to use in your policies. You need to make sure both content, the threat intelligence, and software, the system's operating code, are kept up to date in Prisma Access. This is usually done automatically or can be scheduled from the central management console. Without the latest updates, your security policies and profiles would only protect you against older threats, leaving you vulnerable to new attacks. Keeping updated is a fundamental part of maintaining your security.